Civic night.
You want to turn up the volume?
Alright, I'm not going to be moving this. Alright, folks! We can face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, welcome everyone.
Yeah, waive the reading of the minutes and then Barbara has a comment.
All right, I want to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, but I think we have a correction.
Yeah, I have a small correction to it, which is about the... Oh, we have mics.
And
Can you
there's a
hear me?
volume on the speaker if you want to
No,
turn
you
the
can't
volume
hear me.
up. No, it's not the volume.
It's on.
As long as the green light is on, turn up the
Okay.
volume. Doesn't- yeah.
No.
Green light is on.
There you go.
Hold it like this, okay?
There you go.
A small correction to the minutes that were sent out to everybody, and that is that the motion to support the petition to have the ferry dock at Orchard Beach, should we ever get a ferry system here, was made by John Doyle, seconded by John Schwam, and it was voted in unanimously. That part of it was left out of the minutes. That's all.
And so, well, no, you say there being no objection,
My parliamentarian.
except
There being no objection to the correction.
Is there another correction that should be brought up, or that's been corrected? Okay, without objection.
Okay, so let's do it.
Is there, I make a motion to,
with no objection to accept the minutes as distributed.
what my parliamentarian corrected.
Correct.
Is it on? Testing.
Yes, it's done.
Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm blasting the volume.
Testing, testing. Well, I know I got a big mouth. I can speak loud. Hello?
No, it's not on.
It is on. It's on. It's on. You can hear it.
Hello?
Definitely on.
Yes?
I have it at 62. I don't want to blow anybody's eardrums on if it actually goes on, but
So are we making a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Motion to second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay. Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's
Don't
report.
bother using it if it's not working.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Good practice.
We'll figure it out.
It worked, yeah.
I've never.
Green light.
I literally have it at 60. If it turns on, I don't want these people in the front to hate me for assuming.
It has to be the Wi-Fi.
Could be the
Anyway, so the treasurer.
Turn it off and turn it back on.
The treasurer's report, currently in the regular civic account, we have $11,122.87. That's where all the dues and everything go. There's the zone account, which is Save on Natural Environment. That's basically the legal fund, $23,089.11. About half of that, around $12,000 of that, is the movie money, as we mention every year. That's the fund that's supposed to be used for the beautification and so forth. Thus ends the treasury.
It says signal.
Okay, so we'll start with before we get to the regular business of order, it's nominating, today's for nominations. So I guess we'll call Helen up first, who's the head of the nominating committee, and then we'll take other nominations from the floor. Helen?
Okay, nominating for the...
Stand up.
Sorry. Okay, for the recording secretary, we nominate Janie Blanks. For the second vice president, we nominate Barbara Valente. And for the president, we nominate Bill Stanton. That's my committee.
Thank you. And now, thank you. Yeah, now we'll take nominations from the floor.
I nominate Dan for president.
Last name, please. Okay. Any other nominations for president?
Please.
Okay, Bill.
Okay.
Now,
Now, any nominations?
second vice president?
Second vice president, any nominations for second vice president?
One wants to nominate me for president, but I'm not ready for that.
Any nominations for second
For
vice
second vice
president?
president?
Can I self-nominate?
No.
Any, Judy?
Have
You didn't want me to do it.
That could be it.
Somebody else can nominate you.
Someone else can nominate you.
Can I hear, I can't hear
That's
who's
up to you.
nominated.
Yes.
I nominate John Schwan.
What are we nominating?
We're nominating for second vice president.
For second
And-
vice president?
Now, wait a minute, we didn't have a second for, I don't remember.
I'm mixed up.
I'm John Schwab. Anybody that doesn't know me, I was,
And what are we
Kerry
nominating?
just nominated me. Second vice
Nominated for
president.
second vice president. Do we have a second for president? First of all, let's go back to the president. Do we have a second on the nomination for president?
Second.
Okay, Steve second. All right, now for the second vice president for John Schwam, we had
Terry.
Terry and a second.
Second.
Is your name?
Diaz.
David Diaz?
Yes.
Okay.
Diaz.
And then the last but not least, we have the,
Recording
the
secretary.
recording secretary. Any nominations for recording secretary?
John
Jamie
does.
does a good job.
I'd like to nominate Beverly Jones.
Recording secretary.
I
I
second.
second it.
Okay. Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I don't even know.
Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I don't know who's been nominated for what, I can't hear.
Okay.
Tell her to sit up, stand up.
Let's try to use freedom.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have Dan Schreiber nominated and seconded to run for president.
Got it.
We have John Schwan, did I pronounce it correct?
With an F.
With an F, Schwam, my apologies, nominated to run for second vice president.
Wait, who's second vice president, Fred or Barbara?
Barbara.
Barbara? You running against Barbara,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we had a nomination for Beverly Jones and seconded for recording secretary. What? He seconded. He seconded both of them,
Okay.
all right?
Testing. There we go.
What?
I nominate Kathy Cica for second vice president.
Okay,
Okay, what is your name, please, so I can...
Candy,
My name's Candy Mancuso.
Second.
okey doke. So, any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Kathy Seebeck, you're raising your hand.
I don't know if she would like to, if Kathy Sweat would like to be the recording secretary.
No, thank
I'd like
you.
to nominate her.
No, thank you.
Decline. All right, going once, going twice, closed. Now,
Read off the nomination.
Somebody read it off.
now,
Read the nomination
the nominations are Dan Schreiber
for president.
for president,
Bill Stanton for president.
Bill Stanton for president.
Any others?
No.
No.
No, that's it, okay.
Okay,
Now, second vice president.
second vice president,
Barbara DeLensick.
Barbara DeLenzick, John Schwam, Kathy Seebeck.
Oh, wait, Barbara's still running.
Barbara's still running.
Oh, then I don't have to be in it.
Kathy Seebeck just rescinded. Kathy Seebeck just rescinded.
So it's Barbara DeLensick and John Schwab.
Barbara DeLenzick and Bob Schwam. John Schwam.
Now for recording secretary,
And now for recording secretary,
Janie Blank.
Janie Blanks and Beverly Jones.
And Janie's staying, right?
Janie staying.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so,
Nominations are closed. Next month in November is the election.
so what we decided to do, after speaking to some of the officers here, we're going to give Dan and myself some time to address you folks because we're running for president. So Dan,
I think everybody
Now,
should speak
or-
who's nominated, right?
well, no, we'll be here all night. It's, all right, you want everybody to speak? Fine.
Yeah.
If they want to speak,
3 minutes.
everybody, that,
I don't,
that-
I'm not special. If people should, if
Say
there
that.
is nomination, I mean, if there is an election, the people who are nominated should have a chance to speak.
fine, absolutely, fair enough.
So that people.
So everyone will start with the bottom of the ticket, not that I'm offending anybody. We'll start with the bottom of the ticket, we'll work our way up. So Beverly, you got 5 minutes. 3 minutes. Here you go, Beverly, come over here.
All right, we're doing it this way.
You got the timer?
I'll keep time.
I'm not gonna.
We got it.
I'll help out.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
My name is Beverly Jones, and I am by practice, trade, and training an 18-year not-for-profit lawyer. I've been representing solely not-for-profit organizations for the past 18 years, and I currently am the chief legal officer of the ASPCA, which is a $248 million organization in New York City. One of the things that I do for that organization is I take the minutes. It's a really, really important job. It's the legal record of what the body has done and decided. Not to toot my own horn too much, but I think that I'm fairly decent at it. I have heard, Barbara and I have had conversations about how there's a need for more people to step up and help with the administration of this organization and this body. And I love City Island. My husband and I have lived here for 4 years. My son goes to PS 175 with Dan's kids. We're really invested. This is our community, and I figured this would be a decent way to figure out a way to help. So.
Thank you, thank you. Janie?
I'm Janie Lanks. I've been the recording secretary now for 10 years or more, and I love my job. I do it every month. Thank God for my editor, Barbara Delencic. Without her, I couldn't survive. And we've been. Yes, she's the one that edits the minutes for me, and Tom has been facilitating in sending out the newsletter as well. So we combine them every single month. We go through an editing process, and we mail out and email out the minutes every month.
We're burning through this. Okay, you're up, sir. John.
Right. Hi, I'm John Schwam, and since we're talking about by trade, I'm an IT project manager. I do data center transformation and all that stuff that people know makes the internet work, but nobody understands. Running for second vice president, essentially only if Barbara supports it and wants time for some more fresh air. I'm not here to oppose her. I'm here to support the wishes of everybody in this assembly. As an officer, potentially, of this body, that's my job to listen to everybody and express their opinions when we meet privately as an executive committee or as an assembly here. Thanks.
Barbara?
Hi, I've been recording, I was recording secretary for a long time, and then second vice president for a longer time. And thank you, John, for being willing to support me if I decide to do this again. And so far, I'm deciding to do it again. So. That's it. Oh, wait, we don't get campaign funds or anything?
Public match.
For those of you who don't know me, Dan, I'm okay. Use the fund. It's good
That's where
for
we got it, right? So we
What's
can
that?
hear it.
Not everyone can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. I feel like everybody's equal, so I'd rather speak from the side, if that's okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Triber. I'm a clam digger. My children are second generation clam digger. My parents moved to City Island in '77. My brother was born in '78. Actually, in the great snowstorm of '78, he was the snow baby. They had to push my mom down Early Street on a sled. You can look it up, it's in the Daily News. Neither here nor there, so he was actual clam digger, but we won't go there. So I grew up on City Island. I was in Cub Scouts, I was in Little League. My kids are in Scouts and Little League. We grew up going to the synagogue on the island. My daughter goes to Irish dance. We don't pick sides, we're all good on all of it. We sponsored a Little League team, so we also own the old Trader John building, and started just moving forward. I'm a lifelong Islander, I'm all in on City Island. And 3 years ago, we found out that they were going to knock down the Trader John building, somebody was going to buy it and knock it down and put up condos. That was sort of my introduction into engagement on sort of the political level, for lack of a better term. So my wife and I, even though it would have been much easier to not buy it, we had no choice. We bought the Trader John building. We employed City Islanders to fix the Trader John building. We employ City Islanders to work in our store. We take them to the flea market with us. We essentially do City Island. I believe in City Island, and we, and I ran a record label for 14 years where I visited every state in the United States twice. And then I'd come back to City Island, and I realized this is where I want to be. Fast forward a little bit, I've been on the executive board for 2 years, and the last couple of months I've been trying to engage more people and getting more people to come to these meetings. And unfortunately, a lot of people come once, and then several people that I know come once, and they're frustrated about the lack of communication and lack of transparency. Essentially, again, even though it's easier for me to not do this, I sort of feel like I have no choice. I feel like that City Island needs to, in essence, move forward. We need to engage new people on City Island. We need to be welcoming to people on City Island. Phrases like outsiders shouldn't be used here. Phrases like off-islanders shouldn't be used here, because that's not the point. I feel like the point is to engage more people and to also join the organizations a little bit better. So tonight is the civic meetings, and Tuesday night is also the PTA meetings, and it's also Scouts. And so if I get elected, kind of the first thing I want to do is sit down with everybody from all the organizations and say, how can we do this together? So if you have any questions for me, I'm at my shop most days. You can talk to me after the meeting. I believe in City Island, and I guess I'd like to be the person to move it forward. Thank you.
My name is Bill Stanton, and this is not about me, this is about you. The people you see running, Barbara, Jane, they're the bedrock. They represent you. We fight. You have fighters up here. Many people say, there's this undercurrent going around on City Island that if you claim to be an Islander, that's a bad thing. I look around this room and I see new people that have been to my home, new to the island. I see people that I've been to their home. I see doctors, lawyers, construction workers, firemen, cops. I see a guy with his phone on. We represent you. You represent us. And I think what I'm here for is to fight. Fight for our quality of life. Fight for our children. Fight for our property values. Fight for our morals and values. Now, some people think that if you're here for a long time, that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I look at the old-time Islanders in this room and I look at their wisdom. And I get power from that. I get knowledge from that. And I get knowledge from new Islanders. And what we've seen here recently, over the last couple of months, is not a new Islander. We saw an invader. And that invader attacked this island. He attacked our associations. He attacked individuals in this room, sending some personal notes that were criminal. And he attacked the black whale, and that was the bridge too far. And that's what brought us all together as Islanders. People said we engage in tribalism. City Island is a tribe. We're a strong tribe. We're one tribe. We're City Island. And that's what I fight for. When we had drug addicts on City Island, I fought that. When we had the massage parlor, we fought that. Bill Bratton was the first police commissioner ever to visit City Island. And that's the relationships that I have worked on. It's not always about fighting. It's about getting along with one another. And nothing could be better told than why that person is no longer here. He no longer comes to these meetings. But there was I'm used to going to your houses. We had a horrible storm. I had about 4 feet of water in my basement. My neighbors came to me and said, whatever you need, Bill. And there was a guy here he's not here tonight. I wish he was here. We actually had a debate. He knocked on my door. He said, Bill, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And guess what? I'm here for you. Thank you. I guess I'm back on the mic. Okay, so why don't we save crime for last, because I got a lot of that going on, a lot to talk about. So why don't we skip me for now and go to the land use. Barbara?
Can we finish the election thing?
We did.
Well, I think some of us have a question about how it's going to happen and how you're going to know the city.
Okay, yes.
Civic Association members voting.
Yes, okay, so, very good question. Thank you for bringing it up. What we're gonna do is, because we've had a surge in people joining, and we wanna make sure that this is going to be all on the up and up, so there's no discrepancy. I have a call out to, he hasn't given me a full answer yet, Jimmy Vacca. Hopefully he'll accept that invitation. And next month is gonna be a closed ballot, because some folks are nervous about with the hands. It's gonna be a closed ballot, just like on a voting day. We're gonna have a regular meeting, we're gonna open the meeting, but you're just gonna put your vote, and you could stay or leave, and then we're gonna close at around 9 o'clock. The ballots will be closed when we normally close around 9 o'clock. So we're gonna open at 7:30, open for regular order, close at 9, and we're gonna have like registration. We're gonna match the list to your vote.
So who's gonna do that?
We're gonna have, I guess,
Point tellers.
I'm sorry? All right, wait, we're gonna do this by hand.
There is a procedure, and it is in the bylaws. Because of the number of people now I'm going to suggest in a board meeting prior to that, we have 3 or 4 people, we'll have the membership divvied up, and those will come in and it will be checked off, but there will be election observers. There will be observers, and that's required by the bylaws and so forth, that there will be an observer to watch and to verify.
Who counts the ballots?
That's part of what's well, unless he wants to get Jimmy Vacca, but there will be a couple of independent people. Funny story, when I was asked to be treasurer, and it was actually, if anybody remembers, Sue Bellinson, she came and asked me, and I said, I thought they needed a treasurer, but the treasurer at that time still wanted the job, so there was an election. I wasn't even in town. I was on my annual Colorado River canoe trip, and I come back and I hadn't heard from anybody, so I assumed, well, the current treasurer was reelected, and somebody came up to me and they said, oh, we have to have the election again next month because it was a tie. It actually came out as a tie vote. They had to redo it the next month. And anyway, so there was somebody who was an independent, and they were... somebody said they manipulated the ballots or something, and they said, well, look, if the ballots were manipulated, it wouldn't have ended in a tie. But anyway, so there will be appointed, I guess, by the board, a couple of independent people.
I'll be happy to.
And I'm
Revise your procedure.
absolutely. So anyway, so that's the way it was done in the past.
Kathy, you have a question? Speak up, please.
Oh, I'll volunteer to help with that. And also, since Barbara's staying.
Barbara is staying.
Right, and John Schwam is.
John Strom is still running, or are you not running, John?
No, I'll be happy to rescind the vote in favor of Barbara.
But
I
you
think
can
she's
help
doing
me
a
do
fine job.
stuff.
Anything you need, Barbara.
Okay, so John just rescinded. Yes, sir.
So in the email that went out from the Civic, they mentioned that there was people that would have people who had registered. No, it's fine. Thank you. People who had registered 60 days before the election would be allowed to vote, right? But if you look at the bylaws, what the bylaws actually. It's October, right? It's 60 days from October. So the question I have is, you guys mentioned you have a list. Is the list, are the payments time-stamped so that we know that people who registered before the deadline are the only ones who are voting to protect the integrity of the election?
Yes, in addition to my database, I have 2 separate records. There's a FileMaker database with which envelopes and everything are printed out of and so forth. And then I have a spreadsheet that notes check numbers, check dates, date that they're paid. And just so you know that there are only 2 members who paid the last day to pay. And I don't know if it was the minutes, but John pointed out that someone's
August 30th
had wrote 30 days before November. It's 30 days before the October meeting. So August 31st was the last day. So every one of our current members, except for 2, were paid by August 31.
Except for 3 today.
What's that?
And 3 new members.
But, well, yes,
But they can't-
and the 3 members, one person I pointed out that did not make them eligible to vote, they said that they're paying for 2019, that they were already paid for 2018. But, I see Steve, Brian is here, I'm 99.9% sure he was already paid for 2018, I'm going by memory. So if any of these 3 were not paid for 2018, they're not eligible.
Just, I want you to have it, just it's 60 days, not 30 days.
I mean, 60 days, sorry. Yes, 60 days prior to the October meeting.
Thank you.
Is what it was.
That's all.
And I gotta add one more question to that, so.
One more question.
When the committee's decided who's gonna watch this election, will we be notified about who's on that committee before the election happens?
They can be appointed off the floor.
In fact, the bylaws have a specific requirement about an election observer, but I'll be quite honest with you, I don't think there's any problem if, say, you and John and anybody else wants to just stand by. I'm envisioning that we'll have a table set up maybe with 3 people, with 3 less segmented, and if anybody wants to stand there and watch as people come in and check off the name, and, you know, if somebody is impersonating somebody and you're aware of that and you say, hey, you're not that person, I'm sure that's all perfectly fine.
It wasn't about that part, it was about the Italian part.
Oh, and absolutely. Yeah, we could have a group of people. There's a requirement to have 1 independent observer, I believe. I don't recollect exactly. But if multiple people want to stand by and watch, you know,
And once again, this is a private vote. There's no hands, no, because there were a lot of people concerned. It is a private vote.
You mean paper ballot?
Yes, that's
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
required, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Billy McGee.
When will we receive the ballots, that night?
Yeah, yes, that night.
That ballot with an envelope, you mark it and
Yep.
seal it?
Yep,
When you come in.
Thank you.
yep. Anything else about the elections? Kathy Seabeck.
Oh, yeah, I know Barbara, everyone's willing to help with the civic, but I don't think asking John Schwam to help you, like, he's part of the executive board.
No.
No, just aiding, offering help.
No, I just think it's better. The more people want to hang out and watch, it's better. The more people, the merrier. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of hang out and you know.
And one more thing too, one of the reasons that I've hung around so long is that nobody has ever stepped up to do this job until tonight. So, and I welcome people who are willing to do volunteer work. We have committees that are part of the, the executive board has a head of, a member of the executive board is the head of a committee, but we do have committees that do not require officers or board members, and so anybody who wants to volunteer is more than welcome.
Hear, hear. Okay,
How many members are there total?
There are 348 members, but only excluding these 347 that are eligible to vote.
yes, sir.
One quick question, that's one vote per family, or if there's a husband and a wife?
Good point.
Great question.
It's two votes per household, any 2 adults. So it doesn't have to be husband and wife. It could be 2 roommates, it could be a mother and a son, whatever. So yes, but here's the thing, most of the memberships that I have only have 1 name. Not most, but a lot of them have only 1 name. So if you're gonna bring someone from your household and they're not listed on the membership list, so let's say it's, John Smith and Susan Jones, and only John Smith is there, and she goes, and Susan Jones not on the list, she's gotta say, well, look under John Smith. But also, if nobody knows that person, somebody, I'm going to say maybe ask for something to show that they live at that address. What's that?
Never mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just want to ask about, I will be out of town, I think. The date is the 27th of November? So, is that right, the date?
November 27th?
The last Tuesday of the month, yes.
Okay.
November 27th.
Is there an absentee ballot that will move?
No proxy votes, nothing. You have to be here to vote.
That's in the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Barbara Delensick, you're up.
I don't have much to report. The buildings department shows that the permits that have been requested by the Marine Street developer have been not approved, so presumably we have another year or so to go before they can start building this thing, assuming they do get the permits that they need. The construction apparently is going on behind closed doors at 414 City Island Avenue for the renovation of an existing drinking and eating establishment, which was never there, so we wonder what in fact they're renovating. The Department of Buildings has been informed that this is not something that they should have approved, and so city planning agreed with that. It's also zoned residential, oddly enough, that lot, and since nothing has been in there, no commercial business has been in there for the last 7 or 8 years, then it has reverted to residential. So again, city planning has to press the buildings department, and we've asked Community Board 10 District Manager Matt Cruz, who used to work at the buildings department, to press them. Department of Buildings has to be watched carefully. They do not pay attention to special city island district zoning. This has happened before, it can happen again. So if you notice anything that looks even odd to you about a new construction or going on, do not call 311. We know that's not a good thing to do. Call me or bring it up at a civic meeting, because we really have to be careful with the buildings department, and we don't want anything to happen here that people are going to later regret. Once you've built a whole building, it's hard to take it down. So just keep that in mind, and the zoning committee will stay on top of it.
Yeah, if you want to go first, I'm more than happy to.
Do yours. Okay.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. For those of you, a nice crowd. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Doyle. We have 2 items today. One is with respect to Rodman's Neck. I just wanted you all to know we have, Barbara, myself, others on the board, have been on Rodman's Neck working with the police department, working with the community board, working with our elected officials. Just wanted to let you all know that they have finally selected a design firm, and we are actually going to be meeting with the design firm, and it's a public meeting. Everyone here is allowed to go. It's going to be on November 14th at 6:30 p.m., and it's going to be 3165 East Tremont Avenue, which is the office of Community Board 10. It's going to be the first meeting of the Design Commission. They're going to spend about 12 months in design, and then it's 4 or 5 years in construction, ideally. So that's how that works. Second, yes? He just walked in. I'll let him speak to that. The second thing I just wanted to bring up is I wanted to thank the 15 of you. I see George is here, Alexis is here, I see Bruce is here, Steve, a few others, John Schwam, who came to the bus meeting at Jacobi Medical Center. This worked as a workshop, so there were about a dozen different workshop groups. And as a result, there was a City Islander in nearly every single group. And we were consistent. We want 24/7 service, even if it's on the hour. We were consistent that we want to try to split the route from Co-op City. Not that we all don't like going to Co-op City, but the issue has developed that the bus just sits on I-95. And that's why you get the 3 different buses that come into the station at the same time, and that becomes a problem. So that's another issue. And then finally, we asked them to examine what can be done during busy summer times. I don't know if it requires a redesign of the shoulder lanes, but to make sure that maybe the bus can just get through so it's not sitting in traffic, so the bus schedule is something you can depend on. Because otherwise, if you can't depend on that schedule, you're going to hop in your car and you're going to go park in Pelham Bay, which they don't want you to do either. That's all I have for right now. One last thing, just as a follow-up, I have we were talking about the ferry and doing the petition. That's going around the room. If you want to sign, you can see me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. I see our good Councilman Mark Jonai is here. Councilman, come on up. I know you're busy.
Good evening, folks. First of all, it's good to be here. I was on the island last night at Temple Bell L for the prayer vigil, and I just left the 4-9 Precinct Council. They did a prayer vigil there as well. It's very difficult times. These are troubling times. Mental illness is real. There's extreme hatred. We're being divided, divisiveness. It's just a time that we need to sit, take a breath, and rethink our lives and what we're doing to make this world a little bit better for all, and instead of pushing and labeling and forcing us from one extreme to another. So our prayers go out to the families, the community, those that lost loved ones, and all Americans, because this is a loss for all of us that we all share with those families and that community. I just want to bring up a few of the issues that pertain to City Island. And first of all, tonight's candidates night, correct?
Yeah, we already had them.
You had, congratulations to all the candidates. I wish you all the luck. It's a well-paid job that you're all fighting for. But you're up to the challenge, I'm sure, and there's plenty of challenges ahead of us. And I'm looking forward to working with the board, whoever they may be. So I'm grateful to you for allocating and putting the time that this community needs to make sure that it's a community that thrives collectively. Last we were here, we had spoken about a couple of needs, and since then we had some concerns that impacted City Island just as much as any part of the city and the country. We were out there trying to bring awareness to Rodman's Neck, the devices, the bombs, whatever you want to call them, work their way into our community, which is a concern for everyone, and just not City Island, but the neighboring communities as those emergency vehicles make their way through, not only from the concerns of traffic, but the devices they carry with them, and the potential of damage that can be done by those devices should be a concern for all. Rodman's Neck has been a hot topic for this community for decades. And we've always fought back on the shooting range part of it, and not so much on the bomb detonations and the bomb center that it is for New York City. So just to give you a quick update, over the years we've heard the money's being allocated, and there's plans, and they're going to invest all this money into Rodman's Neck to make sure that the shooting range is brought up to a standard and the noise abatement is going to be done. The facts are, only $51 million has been allocated to the projected budget.
The current budget.
The current, well,
There's
the
2
project,
million beyond that.
right, the project is roughly $299 million, correct?
Right.
Let's call it an even 300.
279, yeah.
279 and change. You leave it up to us, it'll be much more than that. The government has a wonderful way of spending money. Of the 279, 51 million was allocated in this budget. And in 2020 budget, 2019 budget, next year, 2020, we're hopeful to allocate the additional $223 million, which we're not even certain is going to address all of the issues, whether it even brings in the sound abatement that's needed, or the bomb detonation upgrades that are needed, and storage and facility. We need to be attentive to this, and I believe there's a meeting coming up
On the 14th.
on the 14th. Hopefully, we'll be advised as to what the study has determined is needed and what part of the project. But even if the project is approved and the community approves and there's no opposition to it, the money will still have to be allocated, and we're not talking small peanuts. It's over $200 million that has yet to be allocated. And if there's a slowdown in the economy or there's a diversion, that can be put off. So we have to be vigilant and stay attentive. Argus cameras funding has been allocated. It's already up in the capital funding tracker. We're waiting for the NYPD quarterly report that details it. It'll most likely be in the first quarter of 2019, the spring. The Argus camera is the camera that'll go on the bridge, that it'll be able to read license plates to find drivers in a car. It's a very sophisticated piece of equipment that is monitored by a central station, which is in control of the NYPD, and it rotates, and it can be targeted for whatever the needs are. This was something that the City Islanders wanted, and I make sure that I put the funding aside to have it done as soon as possible.
If I could just add, for those folks that don't know, that is a force multiplier. That is essentially having a cop sitting on top of the bridge 24/7 with a pair of binoculars, never going to sleep, never going for a donut, never having coffee. That August camera is a game changer for a city island. If someone commits a crime, comes onto the island and then goes off, that camera, and they go by bicycle, they go by bus, they go by car, that camera will pick it up. And that is a huge win, and I have to thank the councilman for getting that for us, because not everybody gets that. That's not an automatic. So thank you, sir.
I just want to touch up on the black whale and the sign ordeal and that craziness. We're still in the process of, you would imagine common sense is something we should all strive for. It's not so common, especially in government. An outdated law that hurts small businesses. It's enforced arbitrarily. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but it's a 50-plus-year-old law that doesn't apply to today's standards. Most of our businesses are not in compliance. I should say, if any are in compliance, would be a surprise. The requirements are just completely outdated for today's marketing needs. We're working on that aggressively. Government doesn't move quickly. For those of you that have had any dealings with government, it's a slow grinding wheel. But I want you to know that I am focused on it. It was something that impacted this community. It was important to you. It's important to me, and it's important to small businesses. Those fines and the just so you know, just an illegal sign to legalize and jump through all the hoops can cost a store owner $20,000. Fine, architects, engineers, installation is up to 20, and permits and fees that go with it. That's a hefty dollar amount for a sign. So, just to give you an idea how important this is, and I don't know how many small businesses out there have $20,000 just laying on the side, and I mean mom and pop businesses waiting for a violation that could just show up on their door after having to sign up, and I believe the black whale sign up was for 50 years or so.
Since 1961.
Since 1961, the sign has been up, and in 2018, we decided it's illegal. That's government for you. Now that I took off my political hat, I do want to offer a service to City Island. As a Bronxite, as a City Islander, as a parent who had 2 boys born on the island, makes them mussel suckers, right? Clam digger. I always get that one wrong. I like mussels and clams. I'm okay with either one. But one of the issues that this community and I firsthand experienced by living on Pilot Street was the raccoon, possum, and skunk problem. How many of you here have a problem with those critters?
Yes.
Oh boy, oh boy. Well, it wasn't too long ago I came up with the creative idea that I was going to buy a slew of traps. I assembled them, and I was going to give them out to the residents of City Island, help them combat their rodent problem. And then someone that was very close and near and dear to me, who was more concerned about my well-being, because to me it's problem, solution, you move on. Problem, solution, you've got too many things to do. Thought this all out and said, Mark, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be giving out traps. There's animal activists and whatnot that may attack you for it. So I am talking to you as an individual. I have 25 traps that I would like to donate to the City Island Civic Association to do with as they see fit. I am not responsible, liable for anything that you do or don't do with those traps, or whose kid gets stuck in one of those traps, and what you do with what you catch. But if you do catch something good, we have a couple of restaurants that may come up with something new on the menu. Part of my job as an elected is to really hear the needs and then try to deliver. I heard the needs of this community, and it's overwhelming on top 5 issues. Week after week, from 311, are complaints about dogs and the owners that aren't cleaning up after their dogs. So I came up with signs. And it reads, leash, curb, and clean up after your dog, it's the law. Kindly respect our neighborhood. So for those of you that are interested, I'll leave them up here. And the other top 5 has been illegally parked cars. People parking in people's driveways, double parking, you name it. So again, I give these out with directions. It first reads, you are illegally parked here. No parking. Be courteous to your neighbors. Avoid creating an emergency. They stick on. You're not supposed to stick them on the front windshield where the driver can't see and could possibly get into an accident. Or the side windows of the driver or the passenger. Or the rear window so they can't see out the back. You put them on the back window. In the passenger seat, the back windows. And I encourage you, if you're going to take these stickers, please don't peel off the whole back. Maybe as a warning, because they are neighbors. They're either your neighbor or they're visiting your neighbor, or it's a delivery guy. You just take off a little portion of it on a corner, give them a notice. Or maybe the first time you may want to put this on the windshield wiper. Don't stick it in a car at all. And absolutely don't stick it on the paint, please. It doesn't come off that easy. So put it on a windshield wiper, let it here the first time, and maybe the second time you want to take a little sliver and put it on the back window. And then maybe after the third time you can do whatever you want to do with it. Maybe that person deserves it. But I'll be leaving these stickers up here for you as well. We have a slew of things that are coming up, and I'll be here for the Halloween parade, which now that I'm elected, I seem to be partaking. When my kids were in the parade, I was never available. It's a little odd. But we are having other Halloween events throughout the district, including Morris Park on Halloween Day. Tragically, I think it's 4 years ago, if you recall, there were 3 lives that were lost where a car drove off the road and hit trick-or-treaters. That driver did not take his medication, and he's actually been sentenced to go to jail. It's kind of telling, it's a tragedy that 3 lives were lost, 3 families were destroyed, and a community was impacted. No one ever feels safe out there, especially on these holidays where we have children running around, and it doesn't take much. Something as so simple as not taking your medication that can lead to a tragedy. We should always be aware of our surroundings and the potential. So in doing so, I host on Morris Park Safe Streets and Safe Treats with my other colleagues and sponsors. I encourage you to be as attentive to these community events as possible and always keeping the safety of our children at heart and mind. Veterans Day is around the corner. It's with good news. I tell you that the Veterans Day breakfast will continue. It was a Senator Klein event, and it was uncertain as to what was going to happen with the breakfast, which is a well-attended breakfast. And when it comes to veterans, it's just not those that serve, but the families that served with them that get recognized, and there's never enough that we can do to appreciate the men and women who have served this country so bravely. A breakfast is the least that we can do for them, and I'm happy to continue that celebration and honoring those men and women and their families. If you are a veteran or have a family member that is, please contact my office so that we can make sure that you RSVP'd for the celebration, and then we'll continue with the parade. We have a few Military Monday, free legal clinic, free immigration service, active shooter. It's a PowerPoint presentation by the NYPD Shield, and free turkey giveaways for those of you that, sometimes we're blinded. We see people in our community, even our neighbors, they dress well, they act appropriately, We don't know their financial wherewithal. There are families that are suffering out there. And because they live in amongst us day in and day out, we don't see what actually happens when they get home, if there's anything in the refrigerator or cupboards. But those of you that know someone or are in need of a turkey to celebrate this Thanksgiving, please contact my office. I will be giving away at least 500 turkeys, and every year seems to, the demand grows, so we make do with the requests. If you need or you know someone that does need, please don't take it from someone else that absolutely needs it. For those of us that can't afford it, but don't hesitate. And I say this with the utmost respect. If you're in need, please don't hesitate. Contact my office. We'll make do. We'll make sure that there's enough turkeys for everybody. I encourage you to sign up for my weekly newsletter. It's more informational than anything else. I put it out every Friday. If you can, sign up. You'll find it. It's a very useful tool as to what is happening in our community and the work that I'm doing. You should know what I'm doing week in and week out, what I'm fighting for and what I'm attending and what I stand up for. But it also allows me to promote all of the great things that this community stands for in good times and in bad. So if you have any questions, I'm sure I went over my time limit.
You passed it 10 minutes ago, Council.
Yes, I did.
Thank you for your newsletter, and included in the newsletter, but you didn't mention tonight, is the Property Tax Commission, which the Bronx pays way more than it's fair. The Bronx and Staten Island are carrying the rest of the city.
So, we are looking at finally doing real reform to the real estate tax system that we have. For those of you that own a home, there can be a big difference between your home and the home up the street from you, and certainly a big difference from one that's out of the community and in a different borough. And it's not just based on the value of your home. It has to do with longevity, it has to do with when you acquired the home, if you've ever filed petitions for the home, and it's very unproportionate throughout the city. So you can have a home that is often noted in Brooklyn that's worth $1.5 million that pays less taxes than a single family home on City Island. The reform put together a committee that travels around the 5 boroughs. This was in my newsletter, encouraging people to attend. And I was so excited to participate, just to hear the issues. I've heard them in my office. We've offered plenty of... do you hear me? Great. So we offered seminars and help with real estate taxes and how to fight back and how to get your property reassessed. To find out that the night that the Borough of the Bronx has its first hearing, where 1.4 million residents were invited, a total of 20 people showed up. It was disheartening for me. And of the 20, not all of them spoke up on the matter.
6 of us spoke.
6, thank you. The good news is, it's not over. They will be coming back in the spring. The better news is, you can submit your issues and complaints online. So if you contact my office, we will provide you with that information so you can respond online or be notified of the next hearing. That'll be done in the Bronx sometime in the spring. But if you don't speak up, don't expect things to get better for you. If you're not fighting for yourself and you're assuming someone out there is fighting for you, you have a lot to lose. I often say there is no measure to the love a mother has for that child, right? But even a mother gets busy, and sometimes that child has to cry to be fed. City Islanders, you need to cry to be heard, so we understand your issues. And when you articulate your concerns, it only helps us fight for you. Don't lose out on this. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your neighbor that may not be able to voice their concerns. So being a voice for yourself and your community is as equally important as we address this very complicated tax system that we have. So I encourage you to be a part of it, and thank you for bringing that up. Kudos to you. It was in the newsletter, yes.
In your newsletter.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I know you just said there's a $279 million allocated to redo Robin's Neck, and I don't know what part of that is bomb detonation.
None.
Wouldn't it seem to be more prudent to have a bomb detonation site in every borough, rather than to drag one? Let's say you have a bomb in the Brooklyn Navy Yard down in that area, and you're gonna bring one all the way up to the Bronx. Should the city think about allocating a spot in each borough for bomb detonation, especially in light of what's going on?
This upcoming meeting that we're going to have with the 4-5 precinct, who's spearheading this, is going to be very telling as to what the study entails. Am I correct there, Barbara? Am I
Yeah,
correct?
the bomb squad
So-
is a totally separate operation.
This is all about the shooting
Fire
range,
range.
so, right.
The bomb squad, we've been talking for years with the police department, please move it. Move it to Staten Island, that's where I think it belongs. But it is a different thing. Now, I have to tell you, we did have a presentation by the head of the bomb squad at the community board last year, and he made it very clear that they don't detonate bombs that they find. These bombs were not detonated, they were taken apart so you can get DNA and fingerprints. What they do detonate over there are the bombs that they use for training the dogs and training the personnel. And they let us know when they're going to do it, and it's within a range. They came to my house because I am exactly 2,000 feet away from the bomb squad. And they practiced with various bombs, and the ones that did not break my windows or scare my dog were okay. Okay? So, at any rate, they've tested, that's what those bombs are. Now, again, as I say, we've for years have been talking to the police department about moving the bomb squad elsewhere. It's a good idea to have it in each borough, but you're not going to get one in Manhattan, you're not going to get one in Brooklyn, you're not going to get one in Queens. Staten Island is my choice, because there's no space for it.
I don't believe that for a minute.
All right, well, we'll talk to them some more about that. But what our meeting is about the firing range, and the money, I've been told by the comptroller's office, is allocated specifically for Rodman's Neck. And the reason that only some of it is in the current budget is that's all they're planning to spend this year. Next year and the year after will be the rest of the money. And the comptroller, he said he would call you. And also the police department say that, no, that money is secure. We'll find out, but, you know.
I want to make something crystal clear. That money is not secure. That money.
Talk to the controller, Mark. He
The controller doesn't
completely.
control the budget.
Oh, yeah, but he knows what, yes, he does, more than,
No, the budget's gonna cut, he audits a budget.
Yeah.
But the budget comes out of City Hall, and that's the city council and the mayor that will deliver this budget. And right now, only 51 million in this budget has
That's
been
right, that's
appointed.
all they're gonna spend
And
this year.
223 million, we're hopeful, will be in next year's budget and the years after as the phases of the project are needed. And there's plenty of examples of projects that started and were not fully funded. So if this project, after this study, or after phase 1, changes in scope and parameter and dollar amount, guess what? It's not a funded project. You know what they do with an underfunded project? They don't begin it. I've got projects that for 10 years, where the money was allocated through Parks Department, by the time they did the study, the dollar amount changed, it was underfunded, had to go back to another budget, 10 years in the making.